MacGyver, SG-1, Episode 20, Sealed Fate. Jonas squinted as he leaned in to read the markings on the wall. He held the flashlight in one hand and his eyes darted back and forth to the notebook in the other.
Well, never a dull moment, huh?
He half-joked, trying to lighten the mood. MacGyver had been looking over the sealed door to the cavern they were in, but moved closer to Quinn to look over the hieroglyphics. He loved this stuff, and seemed relatively calm considering the potential danger they were in. It was noticeable.
You seem amazingly calm. Aren't you the last bit worried?
MacGyver was scanning the old symbols when he realized what he was being asked. What? What, this? Nah. This used to be my Tuesday. His smile comforted his partner, and they turned their attention to the puzzle in front of them. So, invasion, huh? Jonas pointed to the wall where his light hit.
Well, it looks like it based on what it says here. Look, these markings indicate a great room full of treasures of power guarded by the chosen one who will join the armies to hand the world over to the king. I think it's somewhere behind this wall. Maybe there's a switch or a lock somewhere.
The two started to scan around the room of the cavern. The majority of the space was filled with the recovered crates the Alliance had stolen. Mac picked up one of the bigger rocks from one of the corners and went back to the markings to start wrapping along the flat surface. Jonas found one of his own and joined him by starting on the opposite wall.
You think it could be here?
Sure, why not? Besides, we're here, and I can't just leave a puzzle alone. Jonas smiled.
I know what you mean. General O'Neill made a good decision putting us together, don't you think?
Yeah, Jack gets lucky sometimes. Max smirked as he teased his brother, even though he couldn't hear it. Just then, the sound changed as he hit the new section of the wall. Think we have something. He hit a few more times to verify his suspicions, then looked back at the ground and the crates behind him. I don't think we're gonna find a switch release. I think we're gonna have to bash our way in. Jonas knew it was understood that they weren't waiting. He wanted in to see the room as much as Mac did.
Let's crack one of these crates open, see if there's anything useful.
Mac nodded and they started to circle the boxes, looking for a starting point. Let's see. Oh, wait. Found something. Hanging off the corner of one of the wooden squares was a long black crowbar. It fit so naturally it was probably overlooked when the items were originally boxed up. He held it up to show his partner and they both smirked at their good fortune. Jonas stepped back and held the light as the troubleshooter used the rock to hit the back of the crowbar and deliberately chip away at the wall. Before long, a hole formed, and both men felt the excitement build within them. Jonas peeked over Mac's shoulder to see what he could see through the basketball-sized opening. He could see something, but he wasn't sure what. Hang on, we have more to do first. He was warned with a smile. It seemed like forever. But eventually, there was a wide enough space for each of them to squeeze through into the darkness. They kicked away the rubble on the floor, and Jonas started digging through his bag while Mac found an unlit torch on the wall. As he dug for his matches, Jonas produced a long wick lighter. Why didn't I think of that? Mac teased with a nudge as Jonas clicked the trigger and held the flame until it caught. After a second, a chain reaction of light flew around the room as the walls became ablaze with an orange glow. By lighting one torch, the rest were activated, and the two men were shocked at what lay in front of them. Glistening from the light were mounds and mounds of gold and ancient treasures like helmets, armor, and vases. Gems and rubies of various colors glinted through their perfect prisms that lay untouched for thousands of years. After a moment to take it all in, Mac quipped, "Well, this is a cliché. I half expect Scrooge McDuck to come diving through." Jonas glanced confused as he turned off his light and placed it back in his bag.
Who?
Never mind. After all this time, he forgot Quinn wasn't born here. They spent the next 2 hours or so rummaging through the piles of treasure, as Mac wondered how it could be used, against how it probably would be used. Squatting down, he held out a gem, and imagined how many people it could feed. He thought of all the billionaires who used their money to build rockets so they could have a 2-minute joyride in space, instead of sheltering the homeless. It made him sick and frustrated. He thought about throwing it against the wall. Jonas saw him staring at it and asked,
Have you ever been tempted?
Tempted?
You know, to take something. Ever wanted to pocket anything? On a mission or something?
Mac looked back at his hand and shook his head. No. Why? The response triggered a shrug.
I don't know. It's all pretty tempting. Don't know.
Mac stood and thought for a moment. I learned a long time ago that before you can expect anything from others, you have to first expect the best from yourself. I wake up every day trying to be the best I can be, whether anybody else notices or not. You know? I mean, even if I held on to something that no one would miss, I'd know. What's best for the greater good? I ask that every day. Besides, I'm pretty sure I can convince Jack to fight for using all of this to help the world, and not arm it. Jonas smiled as he took in his words, and followed over to one of the walls lined with staff weapons and various artillery.
What?
He noticed the confused look on his face. Let me ask you. Do you find it odd that there's a wall of weapons in a room full of treasure? Jonas shrugged at the question.
Maybe this was part of Montu's planned return.
Yeah, but look, there's not enough here for an army. They wouldn't get too far, would they? Mac leaned in to look behind the rack of staff weapons. Here, help me move this stuff. The two men grabbed each side of the rack and dragged it off to one side. Jonas instantly recognized the symbols on the lower part of the wall and whipped his journal back out. What's it say? Mac could hear the theme to Indiana Jones ring in his mind again as he sensed the stakes climbing.
Rise, your loyal servants, and build the army to rule in your God's name. There's some other symbols indicating fire and unending life force or something.
Mac came closer to the wall and felt around the edges. Jonas noticed some cutouts of various sizes at the various spots and turned back to the mound of treasure.
What if...
He started picking up some of the stones.
What if these gems go in there?
Over the next 30 minutes, the two dug through the pile trying various options, until 8 of the 9 spaces were filled. The last opening was in the center, and slightly bigger than the rest. Mac grabbed one of the red gems that were put aside and placed it pointy end first. Nothing happened. As Jonas Quinn stepped up, Mac gave the stone one hard thump, and... Suddenly, the digging sound of stone on stone filled the room, and the section of wall hid behind another. Inside the new opening were rows and rows of gold weapons and armor surrounding a long gold coffin. Oh, is that what I think that is?
These are gold sarcophagus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mac winced and groaned as Jonas stepped forward and around the other side to look at the details.
You think anyone is home?
I'd rather not find out. Thank you very much. Jonas nodded in agreement, but it didn't matter. A deep grind of machinery churned, and the top of the sarcophagus slid open. The two men could only look at the other, before a giant of a man sat up. He was pure muscle, wide awake and angry. Without wasting a moment, he turned his attention to MacGyver, who was backing away. Hi there. How you doing? Wearing only a loincloth and the gold First Prime symbol of Montu on his forehead, the behemoth leapt from his resting place and faced the troubleshooter. Oka Shava Montu Kree. Oh, I assume you're asking about Montu? Yeah, he isn't here anymore. I'm Mac, and this is... Oh! Suddenly, MacGyver was knocked off his feet as the Jaffa's backhand flew across his face. His body hit the ground hard, and he struggled to keep focus. Okay! Aiming for the limb closest to him, Mac kicked his heel at the Jaffa's knee and then to the point of the other leg, knocking him at least partway down.
Look out!
Then from behind flew the figure of Jonas, who threw himself off the top of the ancient coffin and attempted to put the warrior in a headlock. As Mac staggered to his feet, Quinn pulled back with all his might in an effort to cut off the air to his opponent. Despite the noble effort, it had little effect, and the Jaffa reached up and flung his opponent back over one of the piles of gold treasure in the far corner. Using the mayhem as a distraction, Mac dove for a staff weapon laying nearby and swung the big end up to connect with the solid jaw in front of him. So far, so good. He then used the momentum to spin the other end around and catch him on the side of the head. One more good one should do it, he thought, remembering the 3 solid hits to the head tends to disorient people. Or if he was lucky, knock them out. Keeping the weapon in motion, MacGyver used his weight to slam the end into the Jaffa's abdomen, which he noticed was almost head level with himself. A gush of air escaped as the giant retched forward. However, it was a step too far as the large hands grasped the staff weapon and threw Mac into the air and out of the treasure room. Hooah! Mac could hear a rib crack as his back crashed into a crate. His body slumped down in a crumpled heap. His hazy eyes could make out the victorious Jaffa coming towards him, with his staff weapon in his hand. He raised the staff weapon at MacGyver's head, ready to fire, but paused. Looked over to Jonas, who wasn't moving, and then back to Mac. After a moment, he lowered the weapon and stepped over him. Apparently, he didn't think the two were worth the effort or attention anymore. Things became a little less hazy after a few seconds, and Mac could make out the form of Jonas staggering towards him from the next cavern. They had to stop that Jaffa from escaping. Just as Quinn reached him to help him to his feet, the two men could hear the rock door slide open and the sunlight illuminate the room. We've got to stop him. He winced as he saw the figure step outside. Their steps were halted, however, when the sound of staff weapons and automatic gunfire erupted from the other side of the door. After a moment of silence, both Jonas and Mac peeked outside to find the smoking heap of a giant man and soldiers, still aiming their weapons just in case he rose again. There they are. I see you've made a friend. From behind the line of military men stepped General O'Neill in his green fatigues. Both sore men squeezed through the opening and limped forward. Oh, hey Jack. Did you have to wait so long? A little bit. We used the time wisely, though, and scooped up those Alliance men you found. Good job. Thanks. Jonas was still full of excitement despite his pain.
General! Wait until you see what we found. A whole treasure room full of gold and rubies.
That's great, Jonas. I'm glad you guys had fun. Mac gave him a look. Fun? No, not that last part. Oh, which reminds me, apparently Montu is making a play for Earth, and it looks like those Alliance guys were helping him get ready. Jack looked down in frustration. Oh, come on. Don't these guys talk to each other? Do they not know about Ra and Anubis, Baal, and others? Max smirked at his brother's classic trail off. I bet Teal could name them all. You're right. Jack then turned towards Jonas. So, treasure, you say?
It's all there in the cave.
Mac put his arm around his brother. Actually, Jack, I've had some thoughts about that. Come, let me show you. The MacGyver SG-1 audio series is written, performed, and produced by Mac Jackson, and part of the Forever Adventure Network. Theme song written by Bry Bro. Guest voice, Corin Nemec, returning as Jonas Quinn. Tips and donations through Patreon at the Forever Adventure Network. Look for more at the Forever Adventure Network website. And as always, thanks for joining the adventure.
Hi everybody, if you're looking for the best in podcasts, audio series, and music, please check out the Forever Adventure Network. We have podcasts such as the Never Gets Old podcast, we have audio series such as the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, and music by Harmony Constant, as well as blogs, comics, and more. Please check us out at the Forever Adventure Network. And as always, thanks for joining the adventure.
The Forever Adventure Network.
Welcome to the adventure.